Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
To me. Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday morning extravaganza, and what an extravaganza it is. News is breaking, as you know. We have begun combat, the United States of America and the government of Israel has begun a joint effort to, no other way to put it, take out Iran's leadership. That is what is happening. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. I'm sure many of you will have comments on it. Already the political class are busy making comments, some of them expected that this is an unauthorized war, etc., etc. We have time to get into all of that. We'll give you as much information as possible. Jake Novak will be with us. James Flippin will be with us. Many other people, as well as your calls, as the day and the days begin coverage of this important operation. Again, telephone number is 800-848-9222. Let us start, Matt, with President Trump's announcement. Folks, we may interrupt it a few times. It is 8 minutes. But this is, let me know and give me a thumbs up when you have it. President Trump addressed the American people, and this is what he said.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States.
All right. When we get done with this, we're going to go to the Bibi Netanyahu cut, where he addresses
our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian
James is ready and
seeks
Jake.
to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that with His help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
That is President Donald J. Trump. That was President Donald J. Trump announcing the beginning of a combat operation with the government of Iran, and Israel, of course, is also attacking. Jake Novak is with us, Red Apple Audio News. Jake, he unpacked a lot during that 8-minute speech. He went back to the 1980s, and many of us, this attack on Lebanon people, in Lebanon, Beirut rather, the attack on the Marines, 242 dead. He went all the way back to that. He went back to the taking of the American embassy in Iran. That was, of course, 47 years ago under President Jimmy Carter. How do you think that he explained to the American people and to the world why this action was taken?
Well, James, he explained the objective fact. We can debate all we want about whether or not the U.S. should be doing what it's doing right now, war with Iran, but it is an objective fact, James, that Iran has been at war with us for 47 years. That's not disputable. Now, you can say America's a great power. There's a certain amount of agitation it can absorb. We shouldn't just respond to every little thing. But it's President Trump said that this, I'm going to quote him directly, we cannot take it anymore, especially after Operation Midnight Hammer last summer, taking out the nuclear facilities for Iran, not to learn its lesson from that, to not only try to rebuild its nuclear facilities, James, but to continue to boost its missile capacity. That was, by the way, the sticking point in all these talks. We knew that they were way behind on the nuclear stuff, but they weren't willing to cut back significantly on their missile program, which can hit all of our allies in Europe, all of our allies in the Middle East, and eventually they're still working on an ICBM that could hit the continental United States. So the President Trump's making this point, and the people can decide whether they're going to agree with him or not, but he makes the objective fact that Iran's been at war with us for all these years, and he makes the second point, which is they weren't stopping. And at this point, he basically said they had crossed a red line. We couldn't take it anymore. Maybe no other president would have had the guts to say this, but he's basically saying it's the guts, not necessarily sensitivity here or a desire to go to war.
When we come back, we're going to listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, his address. He spoke directly to the people of Iran. A little bit later, I'm going to ask if John Katsimatidis can join us for a moment so that we can talk about what is happening and what will happen with all important oil, energy, and shipping. The Houthis have already announced that they are going to resume attacks on shipping through the Gulf. And we'll cover that, so much more. Your calls are welcomed at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Yes, it is the extravaganza, which means Princess Diana will be joining us later today, as well as America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock. And the stunning events overnight will also mean that Red Apple Audio Network's news department, working overdrive to keep you abreast, will be joining us and breaking in with any important news. So whatever you do, keep it right here.
The James Golding Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golding Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Jennifer Griffin. Jennifer, thank you. We're getting reports that, according to the Associated Press, the Houthis who are obviously a proxy of the Iranians. The Houthi rebels are saying that they are going to resume attacks on shipping in the Red Sea corridor. Whether that's bluff or whether it's actual fact is yet to be determined, but one can imagine that all of the firepower of the United States and the Israelis available there in that region, the Houthis are going to pay a high price if they begin trying to attack shipping in the Red Sea once again.
And that is something, ladies and gentlemen, that we are going to discuss with our own Jake Novak and with John Katzimatidis, who's going to join us after the half-hour break. We will talk about that aspect of this. This could spiral out of control. This is one of the dangers, and let's be very clear about that. This is one of the dangers of these kind of operations. You have so many parties here. Hezbollah, you have the Houthis, you have Syria, you have all these elements of terrorism that have been funded by Iran for over 47 years. And we don't know where this is going, but we do know one thing. The American military is in great shape, and they are working with the Israeli military. Now, I mentioned Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the address that Benjamin Netanyahu gave to the Iranian people.
Tonight I wish to speak to you, the proud people of Iran. We're in the midst of one of the greatest military operations in history, Operation Rising Lion. The Islamic regime, which has oppressed you for nearly 50 years, threatens to destroy my country, the State of Israel. The objective of Israel's military operation is to remove this threat, both the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat to Israel. And as we achieve our objectives, we're also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom. In the past 24 hours, we've taken out top military commanders, senior nuclear scientists, the Islamic regime's most significant enrichment facility, and a large portion of its ballistic missile arsenal. More is on the way. The regime doesn't know what hit them. They don't know what will hit them. The nation of Iran and the nation of Israel have been true friends since the days of Cyrus the Great. And the time has come for you to unite around your flag and your historic legacy by standing up for your freedom from an evil and oppressive regime. It has never been weaker. This is your opportunity to stand up and let your voices be heard. Woman, life, freedom. Zan, Zandegi, Azadi. As I said yesterday and many times before, Israel's fight is not with you. It's not with you, the brave people of Iran, whom we respect and admire. Our fight is with our common enemy, a murderous regime that both oppresses you and impoverishes you. Brave people of Iran, your light will defeat the darkness. I'm with you. The people of Israel are with you.
Wow, that was some address from Benjamin Netanyahu to the people of Iran. This is James Golden. It is the Saturday morning extravaganza, your Saturday morning vibe. When we get back, we're going to talk more about the impacts of this on shipping and oil with James Novak, Red Apple Audio Network's news, and with John Katzimatidis. Your telephone calls are welcome. What do you think about what is happening today in the world? This perhaps could be one of the biggest game changers in the quote-unquote world order. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Right now, air raid sirens are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. The Iranians have started their response to the American and Israeli airstrikes. Right now,
James Flippin is with us as well as Jake Novak. Let me ask both of you gentlemen. I just got a text from someone who will be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. His name is Joel Rosenberg. He is an author that has written about the Mideast in the form of novels extensively for decades. Prior to that, of course, worked with the Limbaugh Letter, Rush Limbaugh's newsletter. Also has worked very closely with Bibi Netanyahu and other figures. Lives in Israel. He's in Washington at the moment. And he just texted me that this could prove the most important Mideast war since 1948. Let me ask you, James Flippin and Jake Novak, what are your thoughts on the impact of this operation that are still in the opening hours today?
Well, I mean, I'll just jump in quickly, Bo. This is James Flippin here in the Red Apple Audio Newsroom. You know, we were talking about it, Jake Novak and I, before your show started on one of the local affiliates, that this is coming at an extremely important moment for the Middle East. Of course, we know the ongoing tensions between Israel and all of Iran's proxies, but also these uprisings that have been going on in Iran for the better part of almost 3 months now. And many people, in terms of experts covering it on the ground, talking about it's the most significant type of uprising there since really the Islamic Republic came to be in 1979. So I can only hope and imagine that this is going to be sort of the major event that could lead to a more physical uprising, more intense uprising. I mean, the implications are kind of horrifying there, but at the same time, we know that there's going to be major events that will take place if, in fact, the current leadership, the Islamic Republic Guard and all that is going to be deposed. So I don't know, Jake. I mean, I'm curious your take on it as an expert on the region, but I know that President Trump has made it pretty clear he feels that the hour of freedom is at hand for the people of Iran.
Absolutely. Now, the reason why 1948 was what was referenced there, James, is because that was the year of Israel's War of Independence. It declared its statehood. The United Nations voted to partition what is now Israel into two states, one for the Palestinians, one for the Jews or Israelis. The Palestinians, of course, the Arabs refused that and decided to go to war, and they were joined by 5 Arab countries that invaded what is now Israel in 1948. Israel obviously won that war. They called that their War of Independence. They were constantly hoping to erase that factor. The Arab world was hoping that that would just be a temporary thing. But after Israel won the 6-Day War in 1967, James, it was obvious they were kind of here to stay. There have been, just uniform hostility towards Israel from Arab countries ever since, Muslim countries ever since. But we started to see a change in that, especially most recently with the Abraham Accords, which I think solidified the fact that Sunni nations would no longer be the primary flag bearers against Israel. And that left Iran as the one major evildoer in the region, killer of American soldiers. I talked to James Flippin in the last hour about the hundreds of American soldiers Iran killed in the Gulf War with those roadside bombs, which is why President Trump mentioned them so specifically in his speech this morning, in his address to the nation this morning. So if Iran is taken out, that doesn't mean all the bad guys are gone. It's not like the end of Lord of the Rings where the ring is destroyed and all of a sudden all the bad guys disappear get swallowed up by the earth. But it means that the captain of the team, the quarterback, the one with all the firepower, the one that really not only does the weaponry, but also provides the money, the funding, a tremendous infiltration into the American news media by Iran and its proxies elsewhere. That is taken out, and you have a brand new world, not just a brand new Middle East. The only thing I would change about that quote that you made, James, is it would be a brand new world without a powerful Iranian evil regime in place.
Now, Jake, I'd like you, thank you very much. Please explain something to people. You said the Sunni nations, and you differentiated the Sunni nations from, explain to us what you are talking about when you say the Sunni nations.
Well, the two biggest groups in Islam are Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims.
And Shiite, right.
Shia Muslims are Iran is the real capital of Shia Islam throughout the world, always has been. Sunni Islam used to be led by countries like Egypt because it has the largest population, but for many years now it's been Saudi Arabia because of its massive financial power. There's no other way to say this, James. Sunnis and Shias have been at war with each other for 1,400 years, on and off. The United States, even Israel, are actually sideshows in that war. It's really the Sunni-Shia war that has been raging for 1,400 years, on and off. That doesn't always end up being full-on armies, but they don't like each other. And one of the things that Iran and the Shias hate about Sunni Islam is that because the holy sites of Mecca and Medina are in Saudi Arabia, I mean, under Sunni control, it is their dream of a lifetime, of many lifetimes, to take over those holy sites and to defeat Sunni Islam and to take over those sites. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people don't understand, well, where does America and Israel play in this? Well, they're kind of sideshows. Both Sunni and Shia Islam, they try to pretend that they're the greatest defenders of Islam. So when they perceive there as an enemy to Islam, be it Israel or the United States, who are not enemies of Islam, by the way, but that's the lie that they tell their people, they both want to be the toughest kids on the block when it comes to that. It appears that with the Abraham Accords and a number of other things, including the Camp David Accords all the way back in 1978-79, which were not completely a failure. Israel and Egypt have not gone to war. They don't love each other, but they have not gone to war. You can't forget that. It does appear that Sunni Islam is at least willing to take a more moderate approach, and they've proved that. Again, I don't say that they haven't supported terrorism in a big way. That's certainly a factor. But it does seem to have been reduced ever so slightly, while Iran doubles, triples, quadruples down on it. And again, if we only have Sunni powers still in power in the Middle East, along with Israel, when this is over, then we're dealing with a much more moderate group, a group that we sort of are able to make deals with here and there. I don't completely trust them. I don't completely trust Britain and France either, frankly. So let's put that in perspective. But honestly, that would be an entirely different war it would be a different world. And by the way, it would be a different world than what we see. You know, all these people who say all these anti-American things and do these protests, you know, a lot of that, James, is Iranian money.
Hey, let me just interrupt you for one moment. Yeah. I love this analysis, but I just have to ask you. You just mentioned Britain and the UK and France. Under Keir Starmer, Britain a week ago denied their oldest ally and rebellious child, who is now the parent, the access to sites to help stage for this. And I have not heard much about Macron, but he cannot be happy here. So for a minute, can we just take a detour and delve into what this attack means for the Western European powers, particularly the UK under Keir Starmer and Macron?
Well, first and foremost, and this is a term a lot of people have been using lately about countries like Europe, about countries like Canada, suicidal empathy. Iran has had the ability to hit certain European targets for quite some time. Whether they had it in the last few months since Operation Midnight Hammer or not is questionable. But honestly, they are in the sights. I mean, President Trump talked about how they're trying to build in Iran an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile that could hit the United States. But they threaten Europe. They've been threatening Europe for quite some time. And they're still not taking a hard line for their own people. You know, President Trump in the State of the Union address, we all saw it, James, where he asked everyone to stand up if they believe that protecting American citizens is more important than helping illegal immigrants. And none of the Democrats stood up. Well, we could have the same moment in Europe. Protecting your own people from an Iranian attack is more important than your oil money or whatever else you're trying to do or whatever kind of woke ideology you're trying. And none of the European leaders would stand up either. I mean, this is absolute suicide on their part. They are actually, the people of Europe might be the biggest beneficiaries today, whether they deserve it or not, considering how they vote. I don't know.
Next question. I have to axe a little Ebonic language there just to make sure that we cover all the bases. I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay? What about immigration in Western Europe? You're talking about some of the same dynamics at work there. You have, if the UK decides, yep, we want to help the United States and wipe out this force of evil in the world, state-sponsored terrorism from Iran, and you have France, who dare not First of all, at least France didn't surrender already, at least publicly. But, okay, so you have France. What if they just said, we want to help? What would be the impact because of immigration into their own nations?
Well, I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
No, I'll tell you. First of all, if France decides to say something supportive about this, and there are riots in the illegal, and really not just the illegal, but the migrant communities of France, I can tell you right now, the headline will be French youth attack cars. They always say it's French youth when it's these migrants from Islamist countries paid off by Islamist terrorist groups to attack and torch cars and to really attack. I always say, don't call them protests, call them attacks. It's the same thing here in the United States. You block traffic to ambulances going to hospitals. That's an attack. That's not a protest. And same thing in France, although it's much worse. You're hitting on something very important, James, which is that Europe has been overrun with a massive migration from these very, very radical countries. This is exactly the thing that we've been trying to stop here in the United States. Obviously, President Trump, the only one really having any success with that. And, of course, really the only one really standing up to it, at least for the last 30 years or so. 30 years ago, the Democrats used to talk about it, but they don't anymore. So you're absolutely right. And that's part of and I should have made that point. It wasn't just oil money and woke ideology. A lot of the European leaders are scared to death of these migrant communities who live in no-go zones and in their own municipalities, basically, who could unleash hell on their own countries. But let's be honest here. The choir still needs music, James. And if you knock out the head of the snake in Iran, you knock out their financial abilities in Iran, and you show the world that there's nothing left to fight for, your regime is gone. Maybe that will help quell any French youth from torching cars tonight. Let's put it that way.
Well, and then let me just ask you this, and then we'll head to a break. We have, folks, if you're on hold, please stay on hold. Thank you. Our lines are jammed, but you can reach us at 800-848-9222 when we start taking calls. Let me just ask you about this. The implications of this go far deeper. We are talking about implications with Iran that, number one, spread to their alliances in South America and Latin America, that spread to their influence as far away as Indonesia, which is one of the largest Islamic populations in the world, and the Pacific, the Southeast Asian theater, where you have growing, including the Philippines. The Philippines has a north-south. If you go below Luzon and you're further down south, they were dealing with their own terrorism, and a lot of that comes funded from the nation state of Iran. The implications of this action today are global. It's not just the Mideast. It's not just Western Europe. It extends through Latin America. It extends through Southeast Asia. What are your comments on that, Nick? Jake, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know what? It's a great point that you're making, because Iran has been interested in foreign meddling and foreign wars. And you mentioned all these different theaters of the world. A couple of years ago, when we learned that that one of the largest groups of people that was coming over our open borders under Joe Biden were Venezuelans, it scared the bejesus out of me, because we knew at that point for years that Iran had Hezbollah operatives in Venezuela, in addition to all the other lowlifes that were coming over. So we were worried about that. I was extremely worried about that. But you know what? Here's something really interesting, James. You're seeing Iran right now responding to this attack by firing missiles at Israel, firing missiles at Bahrain, firing missiles at Qatar. You know where they're not firing missiles? Over their own country. Where's their own air defense? And that is a perfect example of what Iran's been all about for 47 years. Attacking their enemies, but not protecting their own homeland. I haven't seen one report of one anti-aircraft bullet or missile fired at the Israeli jets or at the U.S. naval vessels in the Persian Gulf. That should tell you all you need to know.
Wow. Amazing.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Let's head out to Indiana, my friends, and check in with Marianne, who's on the phones, been patiently waiting. Those of you on hold, thank you. Please stay on hold. Marianne, what is on your mind this morning?
Good morning, James. I would like to know why it hasn't been reported that Joe Biden gave $10 billion to the Iran for nuclear warheads.
Where are you sourcing that information?
From a long time ago where it has been...
Okay, I think you might have Joe Biden confused with Obama, who delivered pallets of cash in the middle of the night. But let us check in with Jake Novak and see what Jake has to say about all of that. Jake?
Yes, both
the billions of dollars that flowed to Iran.
Marianne, you're pretty darn correct there. Both the Obama and Biden administrations handed cash over to Iran. Obviously, the Obama administration doing much more. And, look, where that money was going to go, there's going to be plenty of denials from Obama and Biden. Oh, it wasn't for a weapons program. Folks, let's learn a term that's really important to understand. Money is fungible. If I give money to a murderer and say, this is for your cup of coffee, and now he has a little bit more money that he can spend to buy a gun, I mean, it's come on, folks. So this idea that this was going to not lead to it, the thing about the Iran nuclear deal that everyone told Barack Obama, and when I say everyone, I don't mean people like me and the conservative news media and Republicans. His own administration officials and top advisors told President Obama, you free up this money to Iran via the nuclear deal, it will result in a lot more local terror. He took that as a trade-off. I don't know about you, but whether I'm killed by a nuclear bomb or by a roadside bomb, I'm just as dead either way. This was an insane, I think very unwise diplomatic attempt. And President Trump made it very, very clear in the days leading up to this that we tried diplomacy. We preferred diplomacy, but we've been trying diplomacy for 47 years. And to directly quote President Trump, all of the things that we got in return from it, terrorism, killing, threats, we can't take it anymore. That's what President Trump said just a few hours ago. So the Biden stuff, they'll never say, well, it was going to the weapons program. But you give them billions of dollars. They weren't going to give it to build schools and have a nice restaurants and things like that. It was all for building terrorist weapons. That's where it goes. Anyone who doesn't understand that is a complete fool. And I guess we had fools in Biden and Obama. The only alternative is that they were traitors. I don't know what else to say. It's a harsh word. I understand that. I say it advisedly. But again, Barack Obama's own advisors told him, you make this nuclear deal, you might get some traction and stop them with nuclear weapons for a little while. But you understand that a decent percentage of this money is going to go to terrorism. And President Obama said, OK, I'll take the deal. And that's what we got.
Take the deal.
Our taxpayer money that I have to go pay my taxes today, and I'm not real happy about it.
Well, it was not only your taxpayer money, some of it was, but it was also Iranian money that had been frozen since the terror attacks of earlier terror attacks. So you had money that was frozen from the 9/11 years in the Iranian government. That money was frozen. Obama unfroze those assets. And then in the dead of night, and I'm not kidding about this, shipped cash, pallets of cash in the middle of the night to the Iranian regime. It was one of the most despicable acts, I think, of almost any American president toward appeasement. And as Jake said, it got us nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, my friends, thank you for your call. Marianne, if you want to be on the phones with us, 800-848-9222 is the number. Our number duo. Coming up, our number uno is headed to the can right now. If you want to be part of the program, 800-848-9222 is going to, folks, a lot to talk about. So whatever you do, keep it right here and do not go away. Again, you want to reach us? 800-848-9222. Stay right there.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We just got confirmation that the U.S. is participating in these attacks. The first word that came across the wire services was that these were Israeli-only attacks, Israeli preemptive attacks against the Iranians. But the U.S., Lucas, we are told, is participating, and that's no great surprise.
No, and officials told me the same thing, John, at the start of this broadcast, that this was a combined U.S. and Israeli strike against Iran.
James Golden, Snerdley here with you. It is our number duo, ladies and gentlemen. No princess, he's going to be on with both of us. Just so much going on here today, ladies and gentlemen. The strikes in Iran, what it will mean for the world. I just got word via text that, and of course, I don't have the wherewithal to vet it, but the text that I got is that the Supreme Leader of Iran, Khomeini, is going to speak on television. So apparently he's still on the earth plane, although the compound was hit. Welcome to our number duo. Joining us from Washington, D.C., although he lives in Israel part of the time, our very own Mideast amazing analyst, correspondent, Joel Rosenberg. Joel is one of the preeminent authors in the world of Mideast, how shall we say, matters. His books, in the form of novels, have been widely read by the leaders of the region because of their predictive nature. Joel and I, the history goes back so many decades. Joel and I have known each other. Joel, welcome. How are you this morning?
Well, James, it's great to be with you. I am safe. I happen to be here in Washington. I was invited by Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to attend the State of the Union earlier this week, and been here for speeches and media. So it's interesting, and my wife just landed in the States after flying out, one of the last flights out of Israel, not to escape. We've been through the whole hellish last 2.5 years, but we've got meetings here in Washington. But this is history, James. It's great to talk to you. This is the most consequential moment in the modern Middle East since the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, which I believe was prophetic, actual literal Bible prophecy coming true. But in terms of the United States, no American president has ever dealt decisively with the Iranian regime, which has killed and wounded and maimed more Americans than any government in the world since the Vietnamese War in the 60s and early 70s. So this is big. President Trump is doing something that no other American president was willing to do. And I think it's right for America. It's certainly a blessing to Israel, but make no mistake, Israel's on the front line. We're taking the inbound right now, but we're willing because we believe this Iranian regime is the most wicked regime on the planet, and that's saying something.
Okay, Joe, first of all, let's just backtrack for a moment. Many of these people, not only do you have spoken with, you have a relationship with Israel's PM, Benjamin Netanyahu. You have talked to many of the leaders in the Middle East, including from the Saudis on. What do you think the impact of this operation will be in the region and then beyond?
Well, that's fascinating, James. You're absolutely right. I've been fortunate to be able to spend time with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman twice for many, many hours, and the president of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed, and the leaders of Bahrain and the King of Jordan and so forth. And one of the things that's fascinating, and all of them and their senior advisors are telling me they support what the president is doing. They, of course, as you can understand, James, have been sensitive in recent weeks and months not to get out in front of the president, and some of them have even put out messages that suggested that they didn't want President Trump to act. Why? For fear if he didn't, that these moderate Arab countries would be vulnerable to Iranian terror and attack and missile attacks and so forth. But what you're watching this morning, what I'm watching closely, is every Arab regime in the region is putting out very strong statements doing what? Condemning Iran, not condemning Israel, not condemning the United States. So what we're watching is now that the president is acting, our friends and allies are showing public courage that I have believed because I know them, but, I think fair enough, most Americans would think, are these Arabs with us or not? Like, they seem like they're unwilling to engage Iran, but they don't have the capability to engage Iran directly. And of course, Israel has been fighting Iran directly and alone, except for those wonderful hours in June of last year when President Trump did what no other president was willing to do, which was use military force, American military force, the best in the world, to take out Iran's main nuclear weapons facilities. But now the president has given the Iranian regime every opportunity to make peace, to give up its offensive military capabilities, its terror support. They would not do it. And thank God for the decisiveness and the moral courage of President Trump. I think he's going to go down in history as one of the most consequential leaders in American history.
So when you look, Joel, at, again, the region now, Iraqi has Iranian militias that are, and by the way, even when our presence in Iraq was strong, the Iranians were working not only with IEDs to attack American military, but also to build up a network of supporters that would serve the interest of Iran. You have the Houthis, you have Hezbollah, you have Hamas, you have all of the proxies of the Iranian state, in many cases, why they were called the largest sponsor of state terror in the world.
Right.
What does this action do if you have the proxies still in place, but the Iranian government is either weakened or not taken out completely?
Yeah, well, there are a number of ways this could go badly, but I don't think that it will. Let me give you an example that already Israel should be under attack by Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Like, we should be under showers of, an avalanche of missiles and rockets from both directions. Neither have fired. Why? Because Hamas doesn't have any more rockets, or if they do, we are killing or dismantling every person that in the Hamas, terror operation. So they are so badly damaged. Are they done? No, they're not done. We still have to finish them off in Gaza, but they're almost done, and they're not attacking. In Lebanon, Israel actually has continued attacking with President Trump's full support in recent weeks at where? Specifically at missile launching bases and missile launchers and stockpiles of ballistic missiles. Right? It's not that Hezbollah doesn't have the capability. It's that when Israel took out all of its top leadership last year, a year and a half ago, and with those explosive pagers and walkie-talkies, nobody who is running a missile launching base dares pick up a phone, right? So they haven't had the command and control capability. So we're not seeing the proxies attack. The Houthis haven't attacked either yet. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying the Iranian regime and its terror network is on its knees. And President Trump decided not to breathe life into them the way Obama would have, the way Biden did. Trump is finishing them off. He gave them an off-ramp diplomatically. They didn't take it. He didn't expect them to take it, but he wanted to show the world that he doesn't have a trigger finger. He doesn't have an itchy finger. He gave them a chance. and they would not take it. And he is finishing them off, and I think this is just an extraordinary day, and it's just the beginning.
Wow. Joe, this is just incredible. I just wanted to ask you very briefly, too, about this. You mentioned at the beginning of your time with us this morning, your visit with us, that in a way this is fulfilling prophecy. I got text right away about that. Can you briefly explain to people what you meant by that?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for asking. There's a prophecy in the Old Testament, in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49. It's in the last 13 verses or so. And it talks, the ancient name of Iran in biblical times, one of the names was Elam, E-L-A-M. And this is a prophecy about the future of Iran, what they called Elam back in the day. And it says, what will happen in the last days? It says that God will be so angry, he will have a fierce anger, and he will destroy the king and its princes. That's Bible talk for regime change. It will destroy the bow and the finest of their might. What is a bow in ancient warfare? Well, it's not the arrow. It's what fires the arrow, right? Now, this prophecy was never fulfilled, and there's more to it. But I just mean it's the destruction not of Iran, but of Iran's leadership and offensive military capabilities. And what we watched last summer was the beginning, in my view, of the fulfillment of Jeremiah 49. And the question I've been wondering is, wow, is it possible we're going to see an actual Bible prophecy come true in our lifetime? Not just the rebirth of Israel, but the actual destruction of the leadership of Iran and its ability to project terror the way a bow can do in the hands of an ancient warrior. And we'll see, right? Let's not jump to a conclusion, but it's a fascinating prophecy. Almost nobody writes or talks about it, but I think we might be watching it played out in real time on Fox and even on CNN and what's left of MSNBC.
Joel, we're going to ask you to come back with us in the next hour, a reunion of sorts. Princess Diana will be with us.
Wonderful.
And so we're going to have a little reunion, the three of us.
I love it.
I love it too. Joel, thank you so much. We will rejoin
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, with everything going on, and there has been a lot this morning, will continue to go on, we have been remiss to not even acknowledge that one of the greats, Neil Sedaka, passed away. We'll get to talking about that a little bit more. Right now, though, John Katzimatidis is in the studio, and we have KT McFarland, who is on the telephone. Welcome, both of you. I want to ask you both, and John, perhaps we can start with you, what the impact of these operations, the military operations that began today with Iran and Israel, United States against Iran will have on shipping and oil, and then the broader impacts. This is a short segment, so I'm going to ask both of you to also hold so that we can discuss it with a little bit more length. John, what do you think?
Well, I spoke to our oil company, and they're up to date on everything. Crude oil is up about $2 a barrel this morning, because Iran is a little bit of insignificant in the world market. And they become insignificant where all their product was going to China or Russia, and that's who was really buying it. So it won't have a big effect in the overall oil market. I mean, it has fluctuations, as we say. I think the big thing in KT, we're all getting up to date because as of last night, and it didn't look like anything was going to happen in the next 24 hours. But President Trump, he presses the button when he feels like he wants to press the button. And the other great news is Saudi Arabia has joined our side. But KT she's been in Washington all her life, and she is the expert. KT, who is on our side and who's not?
Well, everybody's lining up with us. And as you point out, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf Arab countries, they're lining up with us. Europeans, a lot of them have lined up with us. I mean, look, the Trump haters are never going to line up with anything President Trump does. But the countries I'm looking for, are they going to make any noise? China and Russia have surprisingly been silent. Remember, it's the axis of evil. It's Iran, Russia, China. Those are the big allies. And so far, Russia and China are sitting this one out.
Well, why do you think?
Go ahead, Bo.
KT, why do you think they are sitting it out? Especially China. Russia, understandably, has their own problems in the Ukraine and beyond. But what is the stance of China with this?
Well, as John pointed out, where does Iranian oil go? Where does China get its oil? China has gotten oil from Iran on the Ghost Fleet tankers after the sanctions were imposed. But China increasingly gets all of its stuff, a lot of its energy from Russia. I think 95% of Russian energy and oil and gas now goes to China. China buys it at a greatly discounted price. But effectively, China is owning the Russian energy industry. Why? Because Russia needs the income to pay for the Ukraine war. So from China's perspective, if their energy needs are met by Russia, it's all about China. China first foreign policy. They're not going to get involved in something that looks like a bigger fight.
Now, that is something when we get back from the break that I would like to address with both of you and have your thoughts on. When you begin a military action, one of the axioms is you never know where it's going to end. What are the possibilities of this expanding into something that it right now is unforeseen, both on the positive side or perhaps on the negative side? So I'd like to ask both of you to just stay with us, and let's talk about that. If you're on hold, please stay on hold. We know you're there. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. It is the Saturday Extravaganza. And yes, coming up in the next hour of the Extravaganza, you will hear from our very own Princess Di. I believe Princess Di is going to talk about China as well. And we'll be hearing from America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock, a little bit later in the show. But this, my friends, history is being made today. We are now, I don't know how else you call it, in a state of conflict. Serious combat with Iran. And by the way, President Trump is also warning that the United States may suffer some casualties, and we should not expect that this mission will not involve casualties. So, stay right there. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On the line with us, we have John Catsimatidis is in studio. KT McFarland graciously here with us as well. KT McFarland, by the way, has spent her life in the defense service of this country. A former deputy national security advisor, also worked for the Department of DOD. You see her all the time on television. We're fortunate to have you both here. I mentioned, and John is a movie star. Above everything else that John has done, he is now also a movie star. So what a roundtable we have here. I asked both of you before the break, what are the implications? What could happen that we don't expect? Every military encounter begun, you do it without knowing what the outcome could be. What are the possibilities? KT, let's start with you.
Well, I think President Trump has learned from the mistakes of the predecessors. So President Bush went in and toppled the Afghan government, toppled the Iraqi government, but also fired everybody who was working for that government, and also everybody who was in the military. And so what happened, the United States had to run those countries. I mean, not only in the military sense, but, things like water filtration systems. They had to run the administration of those countries. And that didn't work because all the people who've been fired then started an insurgency, and we fought a forever war war in the Middle East with Afghanistan and Iraq, forever wars we couldn't win. We spent trillions of dollars, got nothing to show for it, less than humiliation. And then look at what President Obama did. He did too little. He toppled the dictators in the Arab Spring, toppled the one or two senior leaders of countries across the Middle East, and then walked away. And then said, okay, it's up to you guys. Now you can have democratic elections and elect good leaders. And that didn't work because in the place of those dictators, there was insurgencies, there were civil wars, Islamic extremism grew up. So both of those ends of the spectrum were wrong. President Trump's doing something in the middle where he is decapitating not just the one or two top leaders of the military and of the political leadership. He's decapitating the whole top tier of everybody and decapitating their nuclear programs and halting their missile programs. And then, instead of U.S. running it, we're saying to the Iranian people, okay, it's up to you now. You will have to do it. Now, what comes next? Well, Iran will retaliate, which is what Iran is doing now, and that's why you have the Great Armada in the Middle East to lessen the attacks that Iran will be able to carry out. But President Trump had sort of set the stage for this a long time ago because Iran has no air defense system to speak of. So any missiles or plane, whatever we're doing to attack from the air of Iran, it has a free reign. There's nothing to stop it, no defense against it. And the other thing he's done is he's lined up the Arab allies in the region, the Saudis, Emiratis, etc. They're coming in on our side, along with Israel. So he's isolated Iran diplomatically. He's isolated Iran militarily. He's defanged Iran with the destruction of the proxies in the last several years, obviously with the help of Israel. So Iran is in the best shape it ever could, the weakest shape, from our perspective, the best shape. Iran is as weak as now as it has ever been, and now it's going to be up to the Iranian people.
Wow. John, do you see any downsides that could happen here?
No, but we should treat China with a little respect because they're depending on their oil from Iran, and you don't want to create a World War II operation. And KT, you're a historian more than I am, where one of the reasons for World War II, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor because we cut them out of oil.
Oil embargo. Yep, the oil embargo.
And China needs their oil. I mean, Russia could supply a lot of it to them. And, oil went up about $2 a barrel this morning. And the fact is that China is buying it at a 30 to 40% discount. So they're making $1 zillion on it, and Russia is depending on China to keep their budget going because the only thing they have to sell is oil. And when President Biden had oil up to $100 a barrel, let's remember this. They produced 10 million barrels a day, Russia. They were making $1 billion a day. That's more money than Russia ever saw before. Iran was making $1 zillion because Iran was producing 300,000 barrels a day under Trump 45 up to 2021. And all of a sudden, Biden allows them to do 3 million barrels a day. I mean, how do you say it from Brooklyn? How do you say it? The Biden administration created our own banana peel for the United States of America. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Wow. Let me just ask you both, what good could come out of all of this? What could the world look like in the best possible scenario, KT McFarland?
The best possible scenario is that the Iranian senior leadership, like at the generals level, the political military leadership, they're gone. And then the lesser levels, as President Trump, in a brilliant statement where he made the case for the attack against Iran, going back throughout the history of how Iran has been the world's major source of instability and crises for the last 40 years. He then made the point to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, which is their military, but their military controls at least a third, if not more, of their economy. It owns companies. And he said to them, lay down your arms. You're going to have complete amnesty. So the best possible world is that they've decapitated the senior leadership. The Revolutionary Guard lays down their arms and cooperates with us. The new leadership takes over. The United States works with Iran, as John very well pointed out, to develop their oil and help them sell their oil abroad and sell it to China and everybody else. That's the best world for Iran. It's peace in the Middle East. It's peace in Iran. It's no more nuclear weapons for Iran. It's no more missiles that could challenge the United States. It's no more proxy wars. But then the longer, bigger term perspective is that the United States will either control or have enormous influence on the world energy supply, whether it's our Gulf Arab partners, it's Venezuela, the United States, potentially Iran. And as John pointed out, whether it was World War II, started because the United States restricted Japan. Japan felt that it had no alternative but to attack the United States because of oil. World War I started because of energy, as the Germans wanted to make sure that they controlled the oil fields and the coal fields. World War II in Europe started because the Germans wanted to control the oil fields in Central Asia. Oil has been at the center of every major war and peace and prosperity for the last 100 years.
KT, I'm going to have to ask you to come back one day and explain World War I to me. And I'm glad you did it very succinctly there. I have been trying to understand the true origins of World War I almost my entire life, and I have not come up with a definitive. I still don't understand how it came to be, and I look at World War I and World War II as almost, though, the same war with just a brief... Yeah, with a pause. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, okay, well, we got to stop for a break here. Thank both of you very much. I want to grab some calls. People have been waiting over an hour, and grab some calls here, and we will continue. So thank you both. Appreciate the time for your being with us, and we will keep close track of events as throughout the day and throughout the weeks ahead on this. KT McFarland, John Catsimatidis, thank you both for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Bo.
May we have peace in the world and get rid of terrorism in the world and have a free world, and that's what we all want, is a free world.
Amen, John. Thank you. Thank you both. James Golden and Snerdley here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And Bernadette is on the line from New Jersey. Bernadette, thank you for waiting. How are you this morning?
Somebody said something to me and he goes, oh, you're from...
And turn off the radio, Bernadette. Let's make sure people are there. Meanwhile, John Catsimatidis is still with us, ladies and gentlemen, and Ed Cox has joined us, who also has some pretty strong creds when it comes to dealing with the China question. Welcome to you both.
Good to be on.
Thank you. So what do you make of events of the day and the impact that it's going to have on the geopolitical world as we know it today?
It will be very difficult for Russia or China to get involved in this kind of a war. Russia's got its hands full with Iran, where they're losing more troops than they can replace. And China is not one to project power in this kind of situation. Maybe some supplies to Iran, which would be very dangerous, particularly some of their anti-ship weapons. So we got to be sure that doesn't happen. But otherwise, China is not going to get involved.
Okay, I've been asking people all morning, Ed, by the way, Ed, I just have to say this. one of my heroes in the foreign policy scene, you know quite well. His name, Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Oh yes, I traveled all over the world with him. You are right. He was a terrific analyst of foreign policy, and after every stop we made and the leaders he talked to, we talked about it, and he and they, and this is when he was a former president, they dealt like equals, and he understood what they were saying, they understood what he was saying, and his advice was valued all over the world.
Absolutely. So I just want to ask you about this. When you start a military mission, the fear is it never goes as planned. You either come out something better than expected or something worse than expected. Best case scenario, worst case scenario. What do you think?
Well, you got to look at Trump's background and what he did with military actions. The very first one that he took, it was in response to the deal between FDR and Abdulaziz, who was the start of the Saudi dynasty, obviously, and that is they supply us with oil, we defend them, particularly against Iran. Iran attacked their refineries, and no deaths, so we had to respond. And the planes were on the way, they were honed in, and with 10 minutes to go, he was informed 300 Iranians would be killed. He said, whoop, call it off. The commander said, oh, blank, but he managed to call it off just in time. And everyone's, he's not that big red line, between FDR and Abdulaziz. But several months later, he took out Soleimani, which was a much better a response because that destroyed the person who was at the center of the Iranian crescent from Hamas to Hezbollah and in Iraq with the militants there and over to the Houthis. And he was the key to it. And by taking him out, that was his response, a very smart response. He didn't forget, and he did it in the right way. The next was, of course, taking out Maduro. A nice in and out. Yeah, 32 Cubans were killed, but they were supposed to be defending Maduro. The Delta Force, they just wipe out anyone in their way to get their mission done, and they got it done. That's a message to Cuba too. But no immediate regime change. Same with the B-2s taking out the Iranian nuclear. Israel cleared the way. No aerial defenses. We sent the B-2 in, and that took out the Iranian nuclear capability for the time being. So, by the way, that's his history. It's very intelligent use of force, and I think that's what's going on here.
Good. I have to ask you this. You just mentioned Cuba in passing. Yesterday, the story broke that the Trump administration is talking with it. There's a dialogue underway. Don't quite know what that means. But Donald Trump floated the idea of a friendly takeover of Cuba by the United States.
It's already happened because it was collateral damage with taking out Maduro. And Trump talked about the oil and, the New York Times, they all poo-pooed it. But I'll tell you, in taking out that oil and preventing the oil shipments, they had to come to the United States, which is good for us, by the way. Our refineries take heavy oil, and that's heavy oil from Venezuela. They're designed to do that. They're doing that again. That's good for America. But in the process, he also prevented oil from going from Venezuela to Cuba and from other countries to Cuba. Cuba, under socialism, under communism, is a dead country. I travel there, and it's just dead. I mean, there's no activity. Everyone's shuffling around, looking lost. And it used to be one of the most vibrant countries in Latin America, destroyed by communism. And so what he has done now, he said, okay, I'll start supplying with oil. So he's got control now of the most important thing that they need, oil to power their electricity plants so that people can have some kind of a life there. So he has really taken it over by taking over their oil supply.
Wow. Pretty amazing. Ed Cox, thank you for joining us. Again, just as I said to KT, we're going to have you back for longer discussions. We are looking at a fundamental change in what is called, and I say in quotes, the world order. I know how that hits conspiracy.
Well, I can't go too far in this. Remember, this is very strategic, and it's going to be limited in a way. Just take out military assets and the people who took out the protesters, who killed up to 40,000 protesters. We'll see what happens with the people in the streets. We'll see what happens. But at the moment, it is a very limited kind of process. Yes, there'll be a lot of firepower, but it's going to be limited to military, to take out missiles, maybe some of their uranium sites, and taking out the
But do you see the
Guard.
government of Iran surviving this as they are currently... do you see them surviving?
If they're willing to kill their own people, yes, they could survive. If you're willing to do that, you can survive. But how long they survive, don't know. How long this operation goes on, is a question. But it is going to be a very disciplined operation, both from the Israeli point of view and from Trump's point of view.
If it is, you just stunned me, Ed, to be totally frank with you, because if the leadership somehow survives, how is it possible to see this as a success? And I'm not talking about from a strategic point of view. I'm talking about from the public opinion point of view.
Well, because they will not be able to create missiles that could send a nuclear capable. Remember, they have enriched uranium that they've already enriched someplace in Iran, and they could turn that into some kind of a nuclear device, and they put it on a missile and send it our way. That's the danger, and by taking out the missiles and taking any chance that they do that, that is one of the purposes of this what's going on now militarily in Iran.
Yeah, and again, I just think that, and look, I could be wrong on this, but and hopefully we'll never find out. If there is any chance that the current regime in Iran is still in power at the conclusion of this operation, I think no matter what else happens, the mission would be deemed a total failure. I don't think that you can have as an acceptable resolution for this the regime still staying in power.
I think as long as, look, they were rebuilding their missile supply. By the way, some of the missiles might be capable of taking out an aircraft carrier. I mean, these are the kinds of things you have to think about. And certainly by taking out their missile supply and and where they manufacture the missiles, and by making sure that, now look, the Iranians may come and say, okay, we got about 10 seconds. We will give up, what we have, nuclear stuff. They might do something like that. So there are other resolutions of this which would be satisfactory for our defense purposes.
Ed Cox, thank you so much. James Golden, our number duo in the can. Our number trio coming up. The Princess of Policy will be coming up in the third hour, as well as America's Small Caffeinated Mom. And we're going to have another surprise visit from Joel Rosenberg and more. So whatever you do, keep it right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to our number trio of your Saturday morning extravaganza. Thank you for your patience on the phones. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. Ladies and gentlemen, right now,
it's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
She is the goodness, the highness, the wonderfulness, the analysis-ness, and in a time of worldness affairs, a voice that we can all look to for comfort and guidance. Our very own princessness. Princess Diana is in the house. Welcome, Your Highness. How are you?
So glad to speak to you, Sir Jamesness, and happy to hear Sir Joelness as well.
Yes, Sir Joelness is on the line with us, too, but we're going to ask you first, Princess Diana, your take on these events of the world. Everything that I had planned for today is out the window. I was going to do State of the Union recap stuff. I was going to talk about the things that are going on with immigration. There is so many different things. The Clintons back in the news with this endless Epstein stuff. Susan Sarandon complaining that she was fired from Hollywood. All this stuff, all of it out the window. We'll have to get to some of it but later during the week if we can, especially some of the aftermath of the State of the Union address, which was just magnificent. And you and I talked about that during the week. But what have you for us this morning, Your Highness?
Well, I have to thank you for this program this morning. It's been so informative, and your guests have been so knowledgeable and bringing a take that you cannot find anywhere else. And I so appreciate the show, especially this morning, as always. I really, personally, don't have that kind of expertise, but I do like to pull the camera back and look at the big picture. And so I have been struck by what I see as the basically Operation Global Cleanup.
I love this. Operation Global Cleanup.
Yes, now the military operation is called Operation Epic Fury, which is a good name. But I really see this as part of Operation Crush China. And let me explain. But first, let me go through what we've seen this year in 2026. We had January 3rd, Nicolas Maduro was extracted from his palace and his bed in the middle of the night. This was the first boom, Venezuela. Out goes Maduro. The second boom was actually got very little notice was when El Mencho, the new generation cartel leader in Mexico, with the help of American intel, was incinerated. And this was a second boom. And the third boom was late last night, early this morning, was Iran, where the Iran's mullahs is in the middle of being decapitated. You know, the regime change is taking place right now. So you have these three huge events, and as one of your guests mentions, also Cuba being changed is in the works. You have these enormous global movements because of the boldness and the decisiveness of Donald John Trump. And so I think the big picture, you're seeing just an ebbing of China's power. And one of the things your guests have mentioned is China is really Iran's largest trading partner, and they have imported more than 1 million barrels of oil a day from Iran. And until January, they also imported 800,000 barrels from Venezuela. So their energy needs, which of course still are being met by Russia, are severely hurt. And their power, as we've talked about, is being pushed out of especially the Western Hemisphere, but all over the world. You had got very little coverage, but this tripartite pact on February 2nd, just a few weeks ago, was signed, China, Russia, and Iran. And so they wanted to create a new multipolar order to counter America. And so with this Iran-China strategic partnership that was signed under the Biden administration in 2021, March of 2021, Iran gets oil. China gets oil. Iran gets the money because they need to bypass the sanctions on their oil. There's been intelligence sharing, joint military exercises, and missile sales from China. So this is another global demonstration that China's military power and intel, which was used in Venezuela and Iran, has been useless against the United States power. You remember Trump has talked about the discombobulator that discombobulated the entire defense in Venezuela who were protecting Maduro. The weapons that we used, Trump gave them this funny name, this wonderful name, the discombobulator, because it basically caused people to be incapacitated in horrible ways. And I don't know if you saw it, but these Cubans who were sent to protect Maduro were sent home in shoeboxes, basically.
Yes.
There was nothing left of them. And so
I saw it.
The weaponry that the United States has, you know, some of your guests mentioned that China and Russia aren't getting involved. They don't want this smoke. They see that their best intel and their best military power has been used around the world and has been completely useless in response to the United States power. So I think that this is an enormous worldwide lesson again, because Iran didn't learn the first time, and we have now the fool around again and find out again in Iran. But it's also a lesson to the bad guys around the world. We have the axis of evil reconstituted, the axis of China now, of our enemies who have been trying to create a balance to the United States power. And they're being pushed out of not only our hemisphere, but all of the world as far as being able to protect power. So I think the impact on this is global, it is huge, and it is because of the boldness of Donald John Trump. Now, he said in his announcement from the White House explaining the background, he said to the Iranian people, this will be probably your only chance for generations. He wants them to rise up. I think it is also our only chance as America for generations, and Donald John Trump took it. He said specifically, we pray for every service member that they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. And he is the only president, and he knows he's the only president now and probably the future, who had the onions to do this. And he's doing this for the future because he knows that it would be unlikely that another president would have the same personality, mentality, experience globally to be able to make the decision that had to be made. So I think globally, as your guests have said, we have a real change in the world and the hopes for the world of a more peaceful era.
Wow. A lot to unpack there. Let me bring in Joel Rosenberg, who's on the line with us, Princess Diana. This is a reunion. The three of us together again. It has been ages. Joel Rosenberg, you have been listening to our Princess Diana, and your thoughts, Joel.
Well, first of all, I just have to say this is such a joy to be with you both, and
yes.
to be talking, and to hear your voices. It brings back a lot of emotion. We have known each other for, I think, over 30 years. When we first started working together, I was 4 years old at the time, but nevertheless,
we were children. Yes,
you guys were teenagers. I was just. So first of all, that's great, but to be able to talk on a day of tremendous American decisiveness, leadership, moral courage, military courage. Princess Di here, you could not have explained it better. I think this needs to be, you need to get that to the White House. Operation Global Cleanup. This is my new bumper sticker. This is exactly what's happening. And this is not, there have been the forces of, despair and discouragement on the right. People, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and these others who are like, Israel's dragging us into some war. Iran declared war on the United States and called it the Great Satan 47 years ago, and not a single American president has ever done something about it. And I say good presidents like President Reagan, but when Iran directed, and we have direct, there's direct evidence on this, including radio intercepts and all kinds of stuff that when Iran directed Hezbollah in Lebanon to blow up the Marine barracks and kill 241 American servicemen, Marines, and wound another 100. President Reagan, and he's the best we've had until President Trump, but President Reagan didn't retaliate. He withdrew. He pulled all U.S. forces out of Lebanon and did nothing for Iran. So, and I could walk you through, but I don't think you want me to, the failure of every American president except Donald Trump to deal with this regime. And America is the greatest military, greatest economic power on the planet in the history of mankind. Why have we been so fearful to, I appreciate President Trump's also his desire to solve this peacefully last year and again now. He doesn't have a trigger finger, but there's a point of no return. And it's, it's disturbing that there are voices on the American right, or they claim to be on the right. They seem to be moving left fast, that make it seem like this is not in America's interest to stop the worst terror regime on the planet that has killed and wounded more Americans than any regime, any government since Vietnam. This is history in the making. It's the most consequential day in American foreign policy and military might in my lifetime. I'm 58, so that'll give you a little sense. I wasn't really 4 when we met, but this is big, and it's going to change the understanding of the United States in Moscow, in Beijing, in Pyongyang, because we have looked so weak and so pathetic under the Obama and Biden years, and Trump is truly bringing America back. Economically, we're red hot, and he's working on cleaning up the world all over. Operation Global Cleanup is alive and well, thank God.
We're going to ask you to just hold on both here real quick. We'll have a short segment coming back. But I just want to ask you both one other question.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is, of course, a wonderful time. Princess Diana, Joel Rosenberg, and I worked with the great Rush Limbaugh. He's the force that brought us all together. And I just wanted to ask you both, what do you think Rush would be saying of the events that we have seen since his passing 5 years ago this week?
Well, he'd be playing Bomb, 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 Iraq. He would be.
Joel,
God bless you. God bless you, Diana, because your first instinct wasn't geopolitical; it's humor. That's what Russia. He absolutely would be letting us laugh and celebrate, not just look at every geopolitical and military detail of this.
It's absolutely true.
And
James,
what about
can I just add something to what Joel said? It triggered something in me just briefly when he was talking about how presidents did not do anything in response to Iran for so many decades. And I really think that is critical, hurt the American psyche. I think there was this trickle-down paralysis. There were so many intractable problems, and the establishment political world basically said there's nothing you can do, don't do anything, and don't project, by all means, do not project American power. And so that sort of affected the way we all felt about everything. Domestic problems, international problems, the border nobody could do, the hollowing out of the manufacturing base, nobody could do anything, the economy, all of these things. And all of a sudden, you have a businessman come in, and he makes the mistake of solving the problems for which the political establishment will never forgive him.
No, that's exactly right, Diana. And I think what's interesting is that, Rush used to make the case that we're the We're the world superpower. Why don't we act like it? Why don't we have any American president, especially those on the left, but even those on the right, that have not acted like we can make decisions? And that doesn't mean you become a warmonger. President Trump is using all kinds of leverage. He's using economic leverage. He's using pinpoint strikes. He's in Venezuela, for example. He didn't go to war with Venezuela, and Rush also would have been. I think he would have been using the humor of doing an impression, right, of Trump. Like, listen, we're not going to take this from the Iranians. These guys don't know what they're talking about. And you go back to Jimmy Carter. The guy was a failure. Total malaise. It's been ever since. But God bless these people. They don't understand. I am the greatest president in the world. And Cookie Tucker, he doesn't know how to handle. I'm not listening to Tucker. I'm not listening to Candace. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because this is America. God bless America. Right? This is what he would have been doing, and we would have like, heck yeah.
You know, one thing.
Fantastic. And James, you are the great. Your ratings have been good, but they are so good right now because I am on your show. But you know, in many ways, Donald Trump is the Rush Limbaugh of the presidency.
Yes, so true.
Yes.
100%.
If Rush could have invented Donald Trump, he would have, because every time he says Cookie Tucker or says, you know, all these phrases, that's right out of Rush. That is the New Yorker, like, combative but funny and take no prisoners approach. And Trump has personified the Rush Limbaugh approach to American politics, and I didn't see it at first, I'll admit, but God bless him.
Wow, you both. Love you both. Thank you. There is deep love here, folks.
Love you both, too. We have to do this again.
Likewise.
Absolutely.
Let's get
Absolutely.
a real reunion.
Absolutely. James Golden.
Next year.
Snerdley, Princess Diana, Joel Rosenberg, all here on this momentous day. Okay, here's what's coming up. We've been promising phone calls. I want to get to some phone calls. Folks, I'm sorry. And we're going to briefly check back in with our very own Jake Novak, and we have a special guest that Jake is going to be interviewing as well, give us military perspective, Rob Maness. And we're going to speak briefly with America's Small Caffeinated Mom. We got a lot to do, so whatever you do, keep it right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
But right now, I don't want to take any more time before we turn it over to our very own Jake Novak, Red Apple Audio Network's news department. Jake, welcome back. What have you got for us?
A couple things. I have a special guest going to join us in just a second, but I just wanted to break in and say that the Iranian government is ordering the citizens of Tehran to evacuate the city. That's a major piece of breaking news right now. A couple of reasons for that. It could be maybe public safety, more attacks are coming. But don't forget, James, it could also mean they're trying to get people out of the city to quell an uprising. Maybe they want to get them out so that they can't rise up and overturn the government. I just wanted to put that out there. But joining us right now on the phone is Colonel Rob Maness, U.S. Air Force retired. Colonel Rob Maness and I have spoken for many, many months, probably years, about this day. We kind of knew this day was going to come. Colonel, I want to ask you two questions off the top. Can you give us your estimate about what weapons are being used? Is Israel using F-35s? Is it F-22s? And can you tell us what role the U.S. carrier groups are playing in providing that extra help for this air attack?
Well, good morning, Jake. Thanks for having me on. Look, we are probably pulling out every conventional weapon in our arsenal to conduct these operations, because this is not going to be a one strike and then we're finished like what the B-2 strike was in the 12-day war. It's an air campaign. It's established like an air campaign based on what I can see so far. We've attacked their command and control nodes, their suppression of enemy or their air defenses. We've applied our suppression of enemy air defenses capabilities pretty extensively, and we are attacking their ability to get revenue. It looks like we've shut down the power on Karg Island, which is really the jugular vein for the Iranian mullahs. They won't be able to pay their people. And once you're not able to pay the IRGC, then maybe they'll start listening to what the president offered to them, which is full amnesty. They'll be treated well if they'll put down their arms and give up and let the Iranian people retake their government. So those type of weaponry, I'm sure the F-22s, F-35s, B-2s, the aircraft from the carriers are that suppression of enemy air defense capability I was talking about. And then the carrier battle groups also are adding to the missile defenses that are already on the ground in the region to protect American and Israeli forces. So, it's a pretty massive naval and air campaign.
It may be one of the biggest ones in history when all is said and done. Can't help but notice, Colonel, that Iran's response to this militarily is to fire missiles at foreign countries. I have yet to see any evidence of any anti-aircraft fire whatsoever. Is it as simple as that? I mean, we knew their air defenses were nil or next to nil, but it sure as heck doesn't look like they decided to make a priority of protecting their own homeland.
Well, remember, the Israeli and American Air Forces devastated their integrated air defense system so much that they couldn't even get a shot off during the B-2 strike, or even after they left. They weren't firing anything into the air. So their supplies, especially with the stranglehold that was applied after that operation, even more than is already happening with sanctions and those kind of things. So their supplies are low. Their personnel are low because the Israelis did a really good job at killing their command and control leaders for the most part, and then we did some more. And that continues to happen on the ground inside the country because we have resistance fighters like the MEK. That is really the only resistance force on the ground there. There's nobody else that has that capability from a group called the NCRI. And they have been continuously running operations all during these protests. As a matter of fact, they even did an operation against the Khomeini's compound a couple of weeks ago, I think. So all of that continues to happen. And that, what does that do over time? It weakens the Iranians. And I'm not surprised that they're not able to respond with anything but a missile, because that's all they have. They've spent their wealth and their treasure and their blood really on establishing missile launch sites that are underground and difficult to kill.
We're talking with Colonel Rob Maness, U.S. Air Force retired, had a lot of very, very important positions with the Air Force, and also had a lot to do with authoring our nuclear plan for nuclear war, if God forbid ever that happened. Colonel Maness, you're America first. I'm America first. Of course, we are not cheerleaders and never have been for a large scale war in Iran. And that's a debate that we can have. And we don't know yet if that's where we're going. I don't see boots on the ground, as they say, and I'm grateful for that. But of course, the objective truth here is whether or not you support a U.S. or large U.S. and Israeli combined attack on Iran. There's no denying that Iran has been fully at war with us for 47 years. How you respond to it is a different debate, but that part of it is not debatable, is it?
Oh, it's not debatable. Look, I put a uniform on when I was 17 years old during the hostage crisis. And for that entire time, I'm still a commissioned officer. I haven't resigned my commission, even though I'm retired. I'm an enemy of Iran, and they've been trying to kill me and people like me and our families for all this time. So, look, I'm not somebody that's pro-war either, and neither is the president. And as you and I've talked about over these many months now, this president wants peace more than anything else, and I think he goes the extra mile for that, where other presidents of the United States that are weaker, that don't really understand this military part of their power, might not do that. And this president has done that. This was inevitable. I'm glad that it's happening under Donald J. Trump's presidency and not some other weak globalist president, because you could very well end up with boots on the ground in a crazy situation, getting Americans and Israelis get sent home in flag-covered boxes. And nobody wants that to happen. What we want to happen is the resistance fighters have the opening to rise up and recruit folks to their side and take over the country of Iran for freedom and for democracy or a republic, whatever they choose to do. And that is what I think this operation is intended to do.
Absolutely. Time for them to take this opportunity. I think that they showed they were willing to sacrifice their lives for it just several weeks ago. I can't imagine they won't seize this opportunity now. Thank you so much. Let's get back to James Gold.
Thank you so much, Jake Novak, Red Apple Audio Network News.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
A quick musical note, my friends. On this day in 2019, Andreas Ludwig Prewin passed away. He is better known as Andre Previn. He conductor, Hollywood films, jazz, classical music. Started working in the movie business before he was 20 years old. 10 Grammys. Houston Symphony Orchestra, music director, conductor for the London Symphony Orchestra, for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the Royal Philharmonic, the Oslo Philharmonic, and regularly also conducted the Vienna Philharmonic. Andre George Previn. Just one of the most amazing greats in the entire music world. Passed away on this day in 2019. With us right now, America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock. We're not going to have time for the full essay, as I mentioned, but I wanted to have you touch base with the loyal and ever-growing base of people that look forward to inspiration from you every single week. Rhonda, how are you today?
Well, I'm sober. I'm good, but I'm very sober, and I'm riveted by the news that's coming in, by the guests that you have had on. Let me just give you a quick recap of this week's essay. It was inspired by that incredible State of the Union speech. And so I sat down and wrote my own State of the Union speech for our sons. And so the title of the essay is, Dear Boys, the State of Our Union is Strong. That is on thedailybs.com in the columnist section. It's just good to take stock of our relationships in our own, just the union of our family. And so I wrote that. I thought people would enjoy that. But James, as I listened to President Trump's address to the nation, I heard the tone of his voice. I don't know if you thought about it, but the tone of his voice captured me. If you wanted gravitas, you got that in spades. He was dead serious, and he meant every word that he was saying. He put our enemies on notice. You have two choices, and he laid them out. He gave the invitation of a lifetime to the Iranian people. Now that was a loving gesture, a loving thing to do. Rush used to say, I remember him saying this, that the military is actually based on love because it's built for the defense of the homeland and her citizens. So that's what comes to me as I think about Trump's offer to the Iranian people. But he also did something that a leader should always do. He prepared us for what may happen. He prepared the American people for the possibility of casualties. And that one part was striking. He said, this is not for now. This is for the future. That is leadership with a capital L. Trump is showing us how we should look at the worst that may happen, and that is the loss of precious American lives by taking the long view. And I believe that's because he knows that the tree of freedom has always been watered by the blood of patriots. So he is preparing us for that and how we should look at it. That is precious blood that may be spilled. And so we pray for those who are in harm's way. I also just want to tell you that in spite of the younger generation and the insanity that you see and hear from the young generation, I want to tell you, James, that there is a rising tide of patriots. I know 4 of them. And just this morning, as my teenager was eating his breakfast, and listening to the news. He loves to stay up with the news. He said, I'm going to write President Trump. He is so inspired and encouraged and heartened by President Trump and his courage and his principles, his leadership. He listens to what he says, he watches what he does, and he is motivated to follow in his footsteps. So that is, yes, he truly loves that man. And I can tell you, James, from personal experience, that President Trump is a man of the people. He will write you back. He will write you back.
Absolutely. Well, Rhonda, thank you. I've got to grab some of these calls that have been holding for all the show, and we'll wrap out, and we will so look forward to hearing your full essay next week and hearing from you next week. So appreciate you. America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock. Thank you, Rhonda.
Yes. God bless America.
Thank you. Marley has been waiting for hours from Newburgh, New York. Marley, how are you this morning? What is it that you'd like to leave us with today?
James, great show. The only thing I can add is for the progressives and the fearmongers out there melting down who are going to try to get your ear, remember that the Iranian mullahs not only hate America and want power like China and Russia do, but they are fundamentally against our culture. We are an existential threat to their belief that women, gays, Jews, Western philosophers, everything is under them, that God gives them the right to destroy us and our unique American culture of equal liberty and rights. This is why we see China and Russia standing back right now, because they're not crazy. Only the Iranians are totally possessed with this fervor. We have to complete this mission. And this is why we see all the other Middle East powers falling in line, because they want economic relations and success. They don't want cultural hegemony. They have their beliefs and they keep them in their borders, and we trade on that basis. Only the Iranians are certifiable nuts, destructors. And this is why we're doing this. And I want the people who are going to hear these progressive ideas, throughout the course of the day and the weeks to come, to remember that Iran hates you. They hate you with a religious fervor that will never, ever be quenched.
Thank you so much, Marley. I always look forward to speaking with you, and we're going to be speaking a lot more. Harold, in Tennessee, you have also been waiting for hours. Thank you for your patience. Harold, I got to ask you to get to your point quickly. Thank you. What is it you'd like to tell us this morning?
In the next few days, we're going to find out which party, which Democrats, which Republicans stand with the United States, and we're going to find out who stands with the Ayatollah. Where is the squad going to stand? I think we already know.
You already see voices from the left, Harold, that are answering your questions. And they are saying this is, they are calling this illegal already, and they are some out and out defending the Iranian regime. That is a great point, Harold. We will see more of it. Steve from Connecticut, you are up next. What is it you'd like to leave us with this morning, Steve?
Hey, James. Great show put together in a real hurry because things went down so early this morning. My point is that most Americans don't realize how extensive Iran's proxy war has been against us since the mullahs took over. There's been a lot of incidents that come to mind, like the Khobar Towers bombing, the fact that the Iranians manufactured bombs to be used against our soldiers and then trained the insurgents in Iran how to use them. And finally, that there has been reported upwards of 40,000 Quds Force agents in South America that use the European drug trade to finance their operations. So they've been at war with us, and until today, we finally gone back to war against them. Wow.
You said a mouthful there, and we shall see where the American left, as I said to the previous caller, the American left is already gearing up. They are filled with TDS, but everything that you have said indicates something that should be kept in mind. Look, this, to me, is going to have global implications. We will talk about that more. Sandra is calling in. Thank you for the call, Steve. Sandra's calling in from New Jersey. Good morning, Sandra.
Oh, it is a good morning, James, because it's February 28th. I heard Donald Trump's powerful and courageous announcement on your show, and that happens to be my birthday, and that's why I'll never forget it. But I wanted to say that those innocent civilians will not have died in vain if we stand firm and fight for the principles they believe in: freedom, security, and peace. Those poor people that died were doing the right thing because they will not have died in vain. That was my point, James.
There are as many as the estimates of the Iranian citizens that were killed during their expressing displeasure with their totalitarian government. 100,000.
Wow.
As many as 100,000 Iranians are estimated to be in some quarters. I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but that's what one of the estimates I read. 100,000 killed. Now, you talk about a totalitarian government. You talk about a fascist government. You talk about everything else. The same American left here that complains about so-called fascism and all the rest of it, do you see any of these people offering support? Have you seen any of them offering support for the Iranian people and everything that they've been through in what is truly a fascist and totalitarian state?
Absolutely correct. AOC picks on Israel but never says anything about Iran and how they were treated, those people. Yep.
Well, we are seeing momentous changes, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you, Sandra, for the call. We are seeing momentous changes that will have impacts all around the world.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.